Good morning and welcome to today's Destress and Refresh 30-minute yoga practice. Felt like a fitting way to start finishing out this year to focus on some de-stressing and refreshing as we prepare for a new year in just a couple of days. So before we begin, I just want to remind you to listen to your body, make modifications whenever you need to, and take breaks anytime that you'd like. For today's practice, it'll be beneficial to have a folding chair or a regular chair, a yoga block or pillow, and a yoga strap or any other kind of strap that you've got. If you don't have any of those things, there'll still be modifications that you can do for the pose we're going to use that for. But if you have those things, they will be helpful. So we're going to begin today standing in mountain pose. And for this mountain pose, we're going to stand with our feet shoulder width apart, second toes pointing forward. So for many of us, that would be a slight turn in so that your big toes are a little bit closer together and your heels are a little bit farther apart. And we're going to take a moment to pay attention to our posture and our breath. So first, the posture. We're going to tilt your pelvis. So we're pulling belly button toward the spine and the tailbone toward the ground. Chest is lifted, shoulders relaxed. Crown of your head pulls up, which means that your chin comes back slightly, so that the crown of the head can pull up, and your hands are resting at your side. Relax your toes. You want to be gripping the mat. And see if you can get your weight to be right in the center of your feet. Not leaning back in the heels or forward in the toes, but right in the middle. And we'll take a few breaths here before we begin, and we'll begin to restrict our breathing to our nose. So we'll breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. If you're congested or that's just not comfortable, you can breathe through your mouth, but if you are able, see if you can restrict your breathing in and out through your nostrils. And we'll try to keep that breath for the duration of our practice. See if you can bring symmetry to your breath, inhales and exhales being about the same length. And we're going to begin to warm up the body with a few half sun salutations. So we'll inhale and sweep the arms up overhead. You can look up slightly, and we'll exhale to fold forward, leading with the chest, rounding your head and your back. You can place your hands on the ground if they can reach, or on your legs. On an inhale, we'll bring the crown of the head forward to create length through the spine. Bring your hands up to your shins or your thighs. Pull your chest forward to create a nice, long, flat back. And then we'll exhale to fold forward again. Pressing down through your feet, growing taller, we're going to sweep the arms back up. And then we'll exhale to bring the hands back together at the chest. And we'll do that 2 more times. And we'll move with the breath. Inhaling to sweep the arms up. Exhaling to fold forward, bring the weight into your toes. Inhale to create that nice, long, flat back. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale to sweep the arms back up overhead. And exhale to bring your hands together at your chest. And 1 more time. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale to create that nice flat back, pulling the crown of the head forward. Exhale to fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up, pressing through the feet. And exhale to bring your hands together at your heart. Very good. We're going to move now into pyramid pose. So for a moment, go ahead and put your hands on your hips. We're going to put the right foot in front and the left foot back, maybe 2.5 feet. And we'll start with the heels in alignment. Right toes are pointing forward and left toes are at a 45-degree angle, turning out slightly. Now, if you feel a little bit unstable here, you can bring that left foot a little bit farther to the left to create some space between your heels, whatever feels more stable for you. And then we're going to turn the hips forward, so pulling that left hip in line with the right. And either with your hands on your hips, or you can hold onto your elbows behind your back, keeping the nice flatness on your back, pulling the crown of the head up, leading with the chest, will slowly begin to fold forward. Try to keep that left hip pulling forward, not opening too much. Engage your right thigh, which allows that right hamstring to release. Keep the collarbone wide. And keep your breathing flowing in and out through your nose. Press down evenly through both feet. And try to keep a flat back. So only fold as far as you can with a relatively flat back. And we'll do one more breath here. And then we'll press through the feet to come back to standing upright. Bring the feet together. If your hands are behind your back, we'll switch. Hold on to the other, or wrap the other one underneath, switching the position of your hands. And this time, the left toes pointing forward. Step back with the right foot, about 2.5 feet. Turn the right foot out at about a 45-degree angle. And again, you can bring some space out with your heels to create more stability if you would like. And pressing down through your feet without gripping your toes. Right hip now pulling forward to be in line with the left. Engage that left thigh and leading with your chest to try to keep that back flat. You can begin to fold forward. You might not fold very far. We are at the beginning of our practice. It's morning. You might not be very warmed up. Just let the pose be wherever it is. Go just as far as feels good and where you can keep your back fairly flat. Keep your breath flowing in and out through your nose. And one more breath on this side. Root down through both feet to come up to stand and bring the feet together again. Good. Now stepping into the center of your mat, we're going to move into tree pose. Put your hands on your hips. You're going to shift the weight into the right foot. Turn the left foot out. If you've got your chair handy, you can always put it at your hand or use a wall for support if you'd like. You can keep your toes on the ground here, or you can bring this left foot up to your calf or all the way up to your inner thigh. Just don't press it against your knee. In this pose, we're pressing down through the right foot without gripping the toes. We've got a focal spot for our eyes. That helps with balance. So find a spot and keep your eyes glued there. And this left hip, we want the one that's bent, we want it to hug under. So you're not sticking your hips back, you're wrapping that left hip under. You can keep your hands on your hips. You can bring them together at your heart, or you can float them up overhead. Find that focal spot, and let's take 3 breaths. Slow and steady, in and out through your nose. Good. Bring your hands back to your hips, turn that left foot in, and drop both feet to the ground. You can quickly roll out your right foot a little bit, letting it roll in each direction. And then switch the weight into your left foot. You can turn the right foot out so that your knee is facing out to the side. And you can stay here. You can bring your foot up to your calf, or you can come all the way up to your inner thigh. As long as it's not pressing into your knee, wherever works for you is just fine. So we're going to wrap that right hip under, press through the whole of your left foot without gripping your toes, lift the lower belly, relax the shoulders, and find that spot for your eyes. And bring your hands wherever they'd like to be, whether that's at your hips, together at your heart, or floating overhead. And we'll take 3 breaths here. Slow and steady, in and out through your nose. And bring your hands together at your chest, onto your hips. Turn your right knee in, drop it to the ground, and then roll out that left foot in both directions. Good. Going back into mountain pose, we're going to do a partial sun salutation down to the ground. We're moving into camel pose. If you're pregnant, you're going to go down to your knees and come up into, we're going down into cobra pose. If you're pregnant, you can go into camel. I'll walk you through it. So feet shoulder width apart, like we did at the beginning, and we'll inhale to sweep the arms up, exhale to fold forward, inhale to flat back, and exhale, put your hands on the mat and step back with both feet. You can go ahead and drop to your knees, or you can keep your knees up. If you're pregnant, you can go ahead and come up onto your knees to prepare for camel pose. Otherwise, from plank with either your knees down or up, we're going to hug the side of your body with your elbows. Your elbows are pointing straight back, and slowly lower all the way down to the mat and release your toes. If you're in camel pose, you'll put your hands at the small of your back, lift your chest, lift your chin, and pull your belly forward. And take some breaths there while we do some low cobra. So in low cobra, we're going to press all 10 of your toes into the ground, so that's internally rotating your legs so that your inner thighs are pointing up toward the ceiling. And while we do that, we're going to hug the lower belly toward the spine, pointing the tailbone to the wall behind you in the direction of your toes to create length through the spine. And on an inhale, we'll lift the chin and the chest up off the mat. Should be able to lift your hands. Shouldn't be a lot of weight in them. And we'll take 3 breaths here. You can either rise with the inhale and lower with the exhale, or you can hold up in cobra, whichever you'd like. So 3 breaths. Good. And on your next exhale, you can lower your forehead back to the mat. From here, we're going to go into child's pose, so knees will be wide, big toes together. If you'd like to push through a push-up, you can. Tuck your toes, make your core nice and strong, and press through your hands to rise up. And then knees can come out, big toes in, hips back, and allow your chest and your forehead to fall towards the mat. If you'd like to put blocks or pillows underneath your forehead or your chest, you're welcome to do that. If your hips are raised high in the air, that is completely fine. Now walk the fingertips forward, lifting the forearms up off the mat. Hug the inner upper arms in towards your ears. And we're going to try to flatten the forehead so that your skin is pulling down rather than pushing up towards the top of your forehead. So set your head on the mat in such a way that the skin is pulling toward your nose. That's a more restful position for your forehead. And since we're working on de-stressing and refreshing, we'll do anything that we can to help us get a little bit of relaxation. Walking the fingertips forward, hugging those inner upper arms in towards your ears, lifting your forearms up off the ground, relaxing the muscles of your face, and taking a few deep breaths. Good. Walk your hands back towards your knees and come up to sit on your heels. If this isn't comfortable for you, you can find a different sitting position. Otherwise, sit back on your heels with your knees in front of you, and we're going to go into cow face, and you've got two options here. You can hug your elbows behind your back like we were for a pyramid pose, and take some deep breaths here. Or if you'd like, lift your right arm, and we're going to rotate it in, and then we'll rotate this one in as well, and pull back behind your back so that the palms are facing each other. You may be able to touch and grab, you may not. Either way is fine, and if this is completely uncomfortable, you can just hold on to those elbows behind your back. Lift your lower belly. Again, pull your chin back so that the crown of your head can lengthen up toward the ceiling. And keep the breath flowing in and out through the nose. We'll do 2 more breaths here. Good. And then release and slowly straighten the arms and bring them down, and we'll switch sides. So if you are holding on behind your back, just switch the fold of your arms. Otherwise, left arm up, right arm down, and we will rotate in, and then reach back, and see if you can get your palms to be facing each other. Again, your fingertips might be able to touch and grab a little bit, and they might not. You can just let them be however far they are. Again, you don't want any pain, so just go as far as you need to get a nice stretch. And one side will probably be a little bit more flexible than the other side. We'll do 2 more breaths here. Good, and release, slowly straightening your arms and bring them back down. Now we're going to swing the heels off to the side, bringing your feet in front of you, and we're going to move into a reclined pigeon pose. So laying back on your back with your legs bent, we're going to cross the right ankle over the left thigh, and you can stay right here, or if you'd like, you can interlace your hands behind your left leg and hug the left leg in towards your chest. Just keep your feet flexed in this position because keeping it flexed helps protect your knee joints. Allow your lower back to press down into the mat and take a few slow, soothing breaths. Good. And we'll switch sides. This time we'll cross the left ankle over the right thigh. And again, you can either stay here or interlace behind that right leg and pull it in towards your chest. Slow, smooth breaths in and out through your nose. Again, trying to keep those breaths deep and the inhales and the exhales about the same length. Good. And release. And we're going to prepare now to move into some variations of shoulder stand and plow. So I'm going to walk you through a few options. If you're not familiar with shoulder stand or plow, I would recommend going with one of the first two variations. If you're more familiar with it and you know how to do it well in your body, then you can go for the fuller pose. Just make sure you're listening to your body. So the first option would be to take the chair and allow your legs to rest on the chair. If you're pregnant, this is a good option. The next option would be another one for if you're pregnant, but you can keep your legs right here on the floor. If you're not pregnant and you want your legs on the chair, you can press your heels into the chair, lift your hips, and put a block or a pillow underneath your hips. The second option you can move to right from here would be to take your strap and put it on the sole of your feet, either with your hips on the block or without, and straighten your legs up overhead. If you're doing this option pregnant, I would recommend not putting your hips on the block and just letting your hips be flat on the mat. So either of these options are good for beginning or if you're pregnant. Otherwise, you can move into the more traditional shoulder stand without the chair. So pressing through your forearms and your elbows, lift the hips up off the ground and put your hands on your lower back and straighten your legs straight up towards the ceiling. You can also do this with your legs bent if you'd like, or you can work with straight legs. We're trying to pull the legs straight up, so as much as possible your ankles are over your hips. You don't want to feel any strain in your neck, so if you are, back off or use a different modification. In whatever variation you're in right now, let's hold it for 3 more breaths. Good. If you're in the full variation, you can bend your legs and bring your hips back down to the ground. And now we'll move into plow pose. So let me start with some modifications. The first modification, and this is a good one for if you are pregnant, would be to do a bridge pose. So with your feet flat on the ground, heels near your fingertips, we'll press through your arm to lift your hips straight up. So that is a good option if you're pregnant. Another would be to partially raise your legs and partially bend your legs. So pressing through that nice flat arms, just like you would for bridge, you press through the arms, lift the hips, and bring your knees in toward your forehead. And you can stay right here, pressing down through the arms, lifting the hips up. And then the third option, you can use a chair or a block for this one, or you can, if your feet can touch the ground behind you, you can do it without props. Pressing your arms through the ground, lifting your hips. You can allow your feet to rest on a chair. You can allow them to fall onto a block, or if it feels okay with you in your body and you're familiar with the plow pose, you can allow your toes to fall down on the ground behind you. And whatever you're doing, pressing through the arms. If you're in bridge pose, I would recommend moving with the breath or putting a block underneath your hips so you're not doing an incredibly long hold. So you can lift with the inhale and lower with the exhale. Like I said, you can put those blocks in the small of your back and rest in a restorative bridge pose. Let's do 2 more breaths in whatever variation you're in. Good. If your legs are back behind you, you can bend your legs And slowly lower your hips back to the ground, and then your feet. Very good. I'm going to move this chair out of my way now. Won't need that anymore today. Then we're going to move into fish pose. So for fish pose, you can use a block to support yourself if you'd like. We're going to lift with the chest, pressing through the arms, and coming into a back bend. Lower belly is still tucking in, belly button moving toward your spine even while the chest lifts up. And if it's more comfortable for you to use a block to support yourself, you can press and put a block or a pillow underneath your upper back. And you can even put a second block here if it feels better on your neck. You'll find a variation of fish pose that feels good in your body. And we'll take a few deep breaths. Continue to press through the arms while lifting the chest and gently lifting the chin. And on your next exhale, you can lower your upper back down to the ground. And we'll move into a wind release, bringing your right knee into your chest. Hugging it as close as feels comfortable for you. If you're pregnant, you can bring it out to the side. Whatever feels good. Go ahead and flex that left foot and pull the left heel away from you. And take a couple breaths on this side. And we'll extend the right foot, flexing the right foot and bringing the left knee into the chest or off to the side. Pull the right ankle away from you. Let your lower back release to the mat and take a few deep breaths. And release. If you're pregnant, this would be a good time to take a happy baby pose. Otherwise, the rest of us will do a gentle spinal twist, bringing your knees up to a 45-degree angle and letting them fall to the right, while keeping your left shoulder pressing into the ground. If your right knee doesn't quite make it to the ground, you can put a block or a pillow underneath it to support it. So press that left shoulder into the ground. Head can gently look to the left, or it can look straight up ahead at the ceiling, whatever feels okay for your neck. And we'll bring the legs back to center. Let the legs fall to the left, while keeping that right shoulder glued to the ground and feeling free to put a block or a pillow underneath your left leg. Good. And bring your legs back to center and release them to the mat. And we're going to come into a Shavasana, our resting pose. So you can roll onto your left side if you're pregnant. You can use blankets or pillows to make yourself nice and comfortable. If you're on your back, your ankles, your heels can be wide and your knees can fall in. This is a nice option if you've got any lower back issues. And if your lower back feels good and you want to straighten your legs, they can be as wide as your mat, and your arms can be out a little bit wider than the mat. I invite you, if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes. Allowing your body to be heavy against the ground, allowing the floor to support you. Begin to lengthen the inhales and the exhales. And I invite you with each inhale to breathe in calm and soothing energy. Breathing in calm and exhaling to release any tension and negativity. Breathing in calm, breathing out tension. If you'd like, you can breathe with a mantra. I breathe in peace. I breathe out stress. Inhaling, I breathe in peace. Exhaling, I breathe out stress. Take 3 more breaths just like that. I breathe in peace. I breathe out stress. Very good. You can begin to bring awareness back to your body by gently wiggling your fingers and toes and opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Recommend that you get up by rolling onto your left side and using your hands to support you, moving nice and slow and coming into a seated position. And we're past the 30-minute mark. I was planning on doing some alternate nostril breathing, but since we aren't past that mark, you're welcome to go if you need to. And if you'd like to stay, we'll do some alternate nostril breathing for just a few minutes to close. So in a comfortable seated position, with your pointer and middle finger at the center of your forehead between your eyebrows, so that I'm using my right hand, so that your right thumb can close the right nostril and your right ring finger is available to close the left nostril. And we'll start using the thumb to close the right nostril, and we'll inhale in through the left nostril, and then releasing the right nostril and closing the left, we'll exhale out the right nostril. Keeping the left side closed, go ahead and inhale through the right side. And then releasing the right side and releasing the left side and closing the right, we'll exhale out the left. Inhale through the left nostril. Switching sides to close the left, we'll exhale out the right. You can go ahead and do a few more at your own pace, switching on each exhale. Very good. And release your hand back to your knees. Take one more slow, soothing breath. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed this de-stress and refresh yoga practice, and I look forward to practicing again with you soon.